The stars shone brightly against the deep black of space as the massive alien ship approached Earth. It was 3 times larger than the biggest human spacecraft ever built. People all over the world watched their screens as the ship came closer to the International Space Station. Commander John Hayes took a deep breath and straightened his uniform. As leader of the Earth greeting team, he would be the first human to meet these visitors face to face. 5 other people stood with him in the airlock chamber: scientists, military officers, and Lieutenant Kate Miller, who had studied the aliens' language from the messages they had sent ahead. "Remember," John said quietly to his team, "we represent all of humanity today." The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. 3 tall figures stepped through. They had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their eyes were large and completely black. The tallest one, wearing what looked like armor with strange symbols, stepped forward. "I am High Admiral Xervac of the Zarkalian Empire," the alien said in perfect English. "We have traveled far to meet your species." John stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Commander John Hayes of the United Earth Space Command. We welcome you to Earth." The meeting room was silent as both sides sat at the long table. The aliens showed images of their empire, hundreds of worlds across many star systems. They spoke of trade, of sharing technology, of bringing Earth into what they called the Galactic Community. "Your world has resources we value," Xervac said. His long fingers tapped on the table. "And we can offer you advances that would take your people centuries to develop on your own." Dr. Alan Pierce, the team's scientist, leaned forward excitedly. "What kind of advances?" "Medical technology to extend your lives. Energy sources that would end your dependence on fossil fuels. Faster than light travel." As the aliens spoke, Kate Miller listened carefully. She noticed something strange in their choice of words, in the way Xervac spoke about Earth. He used terms that, in their language, suggested ownership rather than partnership. When the meeting ended, the Earth team gathered in their private quarters to discuss what they had learned. "This could be the greatest opportunity in human history," Dr. Pierce said. John nodded. "Their technology is incredible, but something doesn't feel right." Kate spoke up. "There were hidden meanings in their language. When Xervac spoke of bringing us into their community, he used words that their language uses for conquered peoples, not equals." The room fell quiet. Then Lieutenant Steve Campbell, their communications officer, rushed in. "Commander, I've intercepted a transmission from their ship," he said, his face pale. "It wasn't encrypted. I don't think they expected us to be able to access their frequencies." He played the recording. The alien language filled the room, and Kate's expression grew darker as she listened. "What are they saying?" John asked. Kate's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "They're reporting back to their empire. They're saying Earth is suitable for colonization, that humans are primitive but might be useful as labor, that our resistance would be minimal. They're planning to take our planet," John said. "Yes," Kate replied. "They see us as nothing more than animals, barely intelligent. They'd done this before to other worlds." John looked out the viewport at the massive alien ship. From Earth, people would see it as just another bright star in the night sky. They had no idea of the danger. "We need to alert Earth's governments immediately," John said. "We've been so excited about meeting aliens that we never considered they might not come in peace." As they prepared their urgent message to Earth, the alien ship sent out a small probe. It began scanning Earth's defenses, mapping military installations, and analyzing weapons capabilities. The Zarkalians were already preparing for war. Humanity just didn't know it yet. 3 months passed since the first meeting with the Zarkalians. The aliens had left Earth after promising friendship and trade. They said they needed to consult with their leaders about an official treaty. Now they were back. Not just one ship, but thousands. People around the world looked up at the night sky in fear. The alien ships blocked the stars like dark clouds. They were everywhere, hovering over every major city on Earth. Commander John Hayes stood in the United Nations emergency meeting room in New York. The room was packed with world leaders and military commanders. Screens on the walls showed the alien ships positioned above major cities. They had surrounded us, General Frank Collins said, pointing at the largest screen. Their ships are in position to strike anywhere on Earth within minutes. Admiral Susan Wright nodded grimly. Our best weapons can't even scratch their technology. We've run simulations. If they attack, we'll lose. The room fell silent as President Olivia Bennett entered. She looked tired but determined. The Zarkalian High Admiral has sent us a message, she said. They're calling it an ultimatum. She played the recording. Shirvak's cold voice filled the room. People of Earth, your planet is now under the protection of the Zarkalian Empire. You will surrender your governments, your military forces, and your resources to Imperial control. Those who cooperate will be allowed to live as productive members of the Empire. Those who resist will be eliminated. You have 24 hours to submit your formal surrender. When the message ended, the room erupted in angry voices. They want us to just hand over our world. Someone shouted. We can't fight them. Another voice said. You've seen their ships. We'll all die. President Bennett raised her hand, and slowly the room quieted. We need to make a decision, she said. Do we surrender or do we fight? Lieutenant Kate Miller stepped forward. She had been studying the Zarkalian language and history since first contact. Madam President, I've analyzed their communications and the historical records they shared. The Zarkalians have done this many times before. They find worlds, demand surrender, and then take what they want. The species that submit peacefully are still enslaved. The Zarkalians don't keep their promises. General Collins nodded. We may not win, but we have to try. Humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. President Bennett looked around the room. Let's vote. All in favor of resistance. One by one, hands went up. Some slowly, some quickly, but in the end, every hand in the room was raised. Then it's decided, President Bennett said. We fight. 2 hours later, she stood before cameras broadcasting to every corner of Earth and to the Zarkalian ships above. Commander Hayes and Lieutenant Miller stood behind her. This message is for High Admiral Shirvak and the Zarkalian Empire, President Bennett said, her voice strong and clear. We have received your ultimatum. We have considered your terms, and we reject them completely. She paused, her eyes looking directly into the camera. We will not surrender our home. We will not bow to tyranny. If you want our world, you will have to take it from us. In his command ship, High Admiral Shirvak watched the humans' response with surprise. No species had ever rejected their ultimatum before. He turned to his officers. Begin the assault. Target their military installations first. Show them the cost of defiance. Back on Earth, as the transmission ended, Commander Hayes looked at President Bennett. What now? He asked. Now we prepare, she said. They think we'll be easy to defeat. We need to show them how wrong they are. The first Zarkalian attack ships began descending through Earth's atmosphere as the sun set over North America. The war for Earth had begun. The sky over Washington, D.C. filled with fire as the Zarkalian ships began their attack. Their weapons easily cut through Earth's defenses like they were paper. Military bases across the world were hit first, then airports, power plants, and communication centers. Captain Peter Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of his fighter jet. One of 30 planes scrambled to defend the capital. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart beat fast. Eagle Squadron, form up, he said into his radio. Remember your training. These aliens bleed just like we do. The squadron of fighter jets rose into the darkening sky to meet the alien attack ships. The Zarkalian vessels were smaller than their main ships, but still twice the size of Earth's largest fighters. They moved with impossible speed. They're too fast, one pilot shouted as 3 fighters exploded in quick succession. Peter watched his radar as more of his squadron disappeared. The aliens' weapons tore through their best planes like they were toys. But he noticed something. The alien ships followed the same attack pattern over and over. "They're predictable," he said. "They don't expect us to adapt. Remaining Eagles, follow my lead." Peter dived his plane straight down, then pulled up at the last second. The alien ship following him couldn't match the maneuver and crashed into the ground in a ball of blue flame. It worked. Another pilot shouted, trying the same trick. For a brief moment, Earth's forces celebrated their first victory. But then more alien ships arrived. Within minutes, the remaining fighters were destroyed. Only Peter's plane made it back to base, badly damaged. On the ground, the situation was just as dire. Colonel Ben Harrison led a group of soldiers in Chicago as alien troops landed downtown. The Zarkalian ground forces wore armor that normal bullets bounced off. They carried weapons that could disintegrate a human with one shot. "Fall back," Ben ordered as half his unit was wiped out in the first encounter. "Standard tactics aren't working. We need to think differently." They retreated to the underground tunnels beneath the city. The aliens followed, but here the humans had the advantage. They knew the territory. Ben split his remaining troops into small groups to strike fast and disappear before the aliens could respond. "Hit and run," he told them. "Don't stay in one place. Don't try to fight them head-on." Meanwhile, at a secret lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Laura Simmons worked frantically to understand the technology from the crashed alien ship that had been recovered. "Their shields operate on a specific frequency," she told the scientists around her. "If we can disrupt that frequency, we might be able to get through their defenses." She opened a panel on the alien device they had salvaged. Inside was technology unlike anything humans had built before. "We're running out of time," her colleague said, looking at reports coming in from around the world. Major cities were falling. The aliens were overwhelming Earth's forces with superior technology and numbers. Laura nodded, but they made one mistake. "They think we're primitive. They think we can't understand their technology. They're wrong." She connected the alien device to her computer and began analyzing the energy patterns. A smile spread across her face. "I found something," she said. "Their shields have a weakness. It's small, but it's there." She turned to the military officer waiting nearby. "Tell command we need to get this information to all our remaining forces. We can hurt them. We can fight back." Across the world, humans were being pushed back, defeated, slaughtered. But they weren't surrendering. In every city, in every country, people fought with whatever they had. And in their persistence, they confused the Zarkalians, who had expected an easy victory. High Admiral Chervak watched the reports come in with growing irritation. These humans were supposed to have given up by now. Instead, they kept fighting, kept adapting, kept finding new ways to resist. "This conquest is taking longer than expected," he said to his officers. "Increase our forces on the ground. Crush their resistance completely." 1 month into the war, most major cities lay in ruins. The Zarkalians controlled the skies and had bases in every country. But beneath the surface, in tunnels, caves, and hidden bunkers, humanity regrouped. Dr. Laura Simmons worked day and night in an underground facility in what used to be Colorado. Around her, a team of scientists and engineers built prototypes based on her discoveries. The alien shields work by creating a field that blocks specific energy frequencies, she explained to engineer Ryan Daniels. But there's a gap in the spectrum they don't cover. If we can build weapons that hit that exact frequency, we can get through their defenses. Ryan nodded as he adjusted the device on the workbench. It looked like a normal rifle, but inside it contained technology based on what they'd learned from the crashed alien ship. "Let's test it," he said. They moved to the testing area where a piece of Zarkalian armor was mounted on a dummy. Laura typed commands into her computer, and the shield around the armor activated, glowing with a faint blue light. Ryan aimed the weapon and fired. A beam of orange light shot out. When it hit the shield, there was a flash, and then the beam went through, melting the armor behind it. Laura smiled. It works. Now we need to make hundreds more. In Chicago, Colonel Ben Harrison's resistance fighters had learned to survive in the ruins of the city. They moved only at night, striking quickly at alien patrols, then disappearing back into the underground tunnels they called home. "We've got new orders," Ben told his team as they gathered around a makeshift table. "Command has developed new weapons that can hurt the aliens. Our job is to capture one of their communication centers so we can learn more about their plans." Sergeant Maria Garcia, his second in command, studied the map. "This one," she said, pointing to a building near the lake. "It's smaller with fewer guards." Ben nodded. "We go tomorrow night." The next evening, Maria led a small team through the dark streets. They moved silently, avoiding alien patrols. When they reached the communication center, they used the new weapons Ryan had designed. The orange beams cut through the alien shields, surprising the Zarkalian guards who had grown confident in their invulnerability. Inside, Maria found alien computers still active. She placed a device on the main console, a data collector designed by Dr. Simmons to break into their systems. "We've got 5 minutes before more guards arrive," Ben warned through her radio. The device beeped, indicating it had finished copying data. Maria grabbed it, and her team retreated back into the night. Hours later, at the Resistance headquarters, they reviewed what they'd found. "They're planning something big," Maria said, looking at the translated alien documents. "They're bringing in ships designed to release a biological weapon. They want to kill off most humans, and just keep a few as slaves." Ben's face hardened. "We need to warn Command." Meanwhile, on his flagship above Earth, High Admiral Shervac received disturbing reports. Human resistance was growing stronger, not weaker. And somehow they had developed weapons that could penetrate Zarkalian shields. "Impossible," he said. "They're primitives. They couldn't understand our technology so quickly." His second in command looked nervous. "They're adapting faster than any species we've encountered before. And they're everywhere. We control the cities, but the humans control everything else." Shervac slammed his fist on the console. "Then we'll escalate. Prepare the biological weapons. If we can't control these humans, we'll eliminate most of them, and start fresh with the survivors." Back on Earth, as dawn broke over the ruins of what was once Denver, Dr. Simmons received the data from Chicago. Her eyes widened as she read about the biological weapons. "They're going to kill everyone," she whispered. Then she straightened her shoulders. "We won't let them. If they want a war of extinction, they'll find that humans don't die easily." She turned to Ryan. "We need to work faster. The weapons are just the beginning. Now we need to find a way to take the fight to them. Up there, in space." 6 months into the war, Earth looked very different. Cities were destroyed, but humans weren't defeated. They had learned to fight back. Dr. Laura Simmons stood in a huge underground hangar beneath the Rocky Mountains. Before her was a spaceship unlike any built before. It combined human design with Zarkalian technology they had captured and reverse-engineered. "The Defiance is ready for its first mission," Laura told Captain Peter Rodriguez, who would pilot the ship. "We've installed the shield-penetrating weapons and added stealth technology that should hide you from their sensors." Peter walked around the ship, admiring its sleek design. After his fighter was shot down months ago, he had spent weeks in a hospital. Now he was ready to take the fight back to the enemy. "One ship against their entire fleet?" he asked. "You won't be fighting them all," Ryan Daniels said, joining them. The engineer had dark circles under his eyes from months of non-stop work. "Your mission is to attack their supply ships, cut off their resources." At that moment, General Collins entered the hangar. Everyone stood straighter. "The Zarkalians are getting desperate," he said. "Our ground forces have been using the new weapons successfully. The aliens didn't expect us to adapt so quickly." He showed them a tablet with battle reports. All across Earth, human resistance fighters were winning small battles against alien troops. The new weapons that could penetrate their shields had changed everything. But now the aliens are threatening to bomb us from orbit, the general continued. If we can't stop their fleet, all our ground victories won't matter. Peter nodded. When do I leave? Tonight, General Collins replied. As darkness fell, the mountain opened to reveal a launch pad. The Defiance rose silently into the night sky, its engines barely visible. Using the stealth technology, it slipped past the Zarkalian patrol ships and headed for space. Once in orbit, Peter saw the true scale of the alien fleet. Hundreds of massive warships surrounded Earth like hungry predators. This is crazy, he muttered to himself, but he set course for his target. A group of supply ships bringing weapons and food to the alien ground forces. The Defiance moved silently through space, invisible to the alien sensors. When Peter reached the supply convoy, he activated the weapons Dr. Simmons had designed. Orange beams shot out, slicing through the alien shields as if they weren't there. The first supply ship exploded in a ball of blue fire. The others tried to escape, but Peter was faster. One by one, he destroyed them all. This is for Earth, he said as the last ship exploded. Alarms blared on High Admiral Shervak's flagship. Reports came in of destroyed supply ships. The Admiral couldn't believe what he was hearing. Impossible, he shouted. How could primitive humans attack us in space? How could they get through our shields? His officers had no answers. More reports came in. Humans winning battles on the ground. Alien bases being overrun. Communication centers destroyed. These humans are unlike any species we've encountered, one officer said quietly. They learn quickly. They never give up. Shervak's anger grew. His perfect record of conquests was being ruined by these humans. His superiors in the Empire would not be pleased. If we can't control Earth, no one will have it, he decided. Prepare all ships for orbital bombardment. We will destroy everything on the surface. Leave nothing alive. As the order went out, Peter watched from the Defiance. His ship's sensors picked up the alien fleet repositioning, preparing for a massive attack. They're going to destroy the whole planet, he realized. He sent an urgent message to Earth headquarters. In the underground command center, General Collins received Peter's warning. He immediately called President Bennett. Madam President, the Zarkalians are preparing to bombard Earth from orbit. If they succeed, there will be nothing left. President Bennett's face was grim but determined. Then it's time for Operation Last Hope. She turned to her staff. Contact Colonel Harrison. Tell him his team is going up. Colonel Ben Harrison looked at the small team gathered before him. 6 soldiers, the best Earth had left. They stood in a secret hangar similar to the one that had launched the Defiance, but this one held a different kind of ship. This is a Zarkalian shuttle, Ben explained. We captured it 3 weeks ago when it crashed near Seattle. Dr. Simmons and her team have modified it to look like one of their troop carriers. Lieutenant Kate Miller stepped forward. After months studying the alien language and technology, she was now Earth's foremost expert on the Zarkalians. I've programmed the shuttle with their security codes, she said. As far as their systems can tell, we're just another ship returning to the fleet. But we'll only have a short window before they realize something's wrong. Ben nodded. Our mission is simple but nearly impossible. We need to board the Zarkalian flagship, fight our way to their command center, and disable their weapons systems before they can bombard Earth. The soldiers looked at each other. They all knew this was likely a one-way mission. Any questions? Ben asked. Sergeant Maria Garcia raised her hand. What happens if we succeed? Then Earth gets to fight another day, Ben replied. And we try to get home if we can. As they prepared to board the shuttle, Dr. Simmons arrived with a small device. This is a quantum disruptor, she explained, handing it to Ben. Place it on their main control panel. It should temporarily disable their systems and send a signal to every ship in their fleet. Ben tucked the device into his pocket. How long will it give us? Maybe 10 minutes, Laura said. Make them count. The team boarded the shuttle. Kate took the pilot's seat, having learned to fly it during her studies. The hangar doors opened, revealing the night sky, and the shuttle lifted off. As they rose through the atmosphere, they saw the Zarkalian fleet positioning for the bombardment. Hundreds of ships, their weapons ports opening like hungry mouths ready to devour Earth. Beginning transmission of security codes, Kate said, her fingers dancing over the alien controls. They approached the massive flagship, a ship so large it could contain an entire city. A docking bay opened, and Kate guided the shuttle inside. "Security codes accepted," she whispered. "They think we're one of them." The shuttle landed in the docking bay among dozens of similar ships. Alien crews moved about, preparing for the coming attack on Earth. "Remember," Ben told his team, "stick to the plan. We move quickly and quietly. Use the new weapons only when necessary." They exited the shuttle wearing stolen alien armor. Kate had modified the helmets so they could breathe properly. They moved through the ship, following the path Kate had memorized from stolen schematics. Twice they had to hide from alien patrol groups. Once they had to fight, using their shield-penetrating weapons to quickly eliminate a security team. The weapons worked perfectly, cutting through the aliens' defenses. "We're getting close to the command center," Kate whispered as they moved down a long corridor. "It's through those doors ahead." Ben checked his weapon. "This is where it gets difficult. The command center will be heavily guarded." Just then, alarms blared throughout the ship. A voice spoke in the alien language. "They've discovered the security breach," Kate translated. "They know we're here." "No more sneaking," Ben decided. "Let's move." The team charged down the corridor, weapons ready. When they reached the command center doors, they found a dozen Zarkalian guards waiting. A fierce battle erupted. The human team used everything they had learned about fighting the aliens. They moved quickly, never staying in one place, using the shield-penetrating weapons to their full advantage. 3 of their team fell in the fight, but within minutes, the guards were defeated. Ben placed explosive charges on the command center doors. "Stand back." The explosion ripped through the metal, and smoke filled the corridor. Through the smoke, the team charged into the command center. Inside, High Admiral Shervak stood before a massive control panel. His black eyes widened in shock at the sight of humans in his command center. "Impossible," he said as Ben aimed his weapon at the Admiral's chest. "You'll find humans are good at doing the impossible," Ben replied. "Now order your fleet to stand down, or you die here." High Admiral Shervak stared at the humans who had somehow breached his command center. His officers stood frozen in shock. No species had ever dared to board a Zarkalian flagship, let alone reach its heart. "You will all die here," Shervak said, his voice cold. "And then we will destroy your world." Colonel Ben Harrison kept his weapon aimed at the Admiral. "I don't think so." "Lieutenant Miller, secure the communication system." Kate moved quickly to a control panel on the far side of the room. Using her knowledge of the alien technology, she began working on the system. "What are you doing?" Shervak demanded. Ben smiled behind his stolen helmet. "Taking control of your fleet." Kate's fingers moved over the alien controls. "I've accessed their communications network," she called out. "We can broadcast to the entire fleet and back to their home world." Ben nodded. "Contact Earth. Tell President Bennett we're in position." Sergeant Maria Garcia kept her weapon trained on the alien officers, while Ben pulled the quantum disruptor from his pocket. He placed it on the main control panel as Dr. Simmons had instructed. "This device will shut down your weapon systems," he told Shervak. "The bombardment of Earth won't happen today." The alien admiral laughed. "You think one small device can stop an entire fleet? Even if you disable this ship, the others will continue the attack." "We're not just disabling your ship," Ben replied. "We're sending a message." On Earth, President Olivia Bennett stood in the underground command center. When she received word that Harrison's team had succeeded, she stepped up to the communication system. "This is President Bennett," she said. Connect me to the Zarkalian flagship. Moments later, her image appeared on the screens in the alien command center. Servac looked at her with hatred in his black eyes. People of the Zarkalian Empire, President Bennett began. Her voice was calm but powerful. For 6 months, you have attempted to conquer our world. You came believing us weak. You threatened our extinction thinking we would surrender. The communication was broadcasting to every ship in the Zarkalian fleet. It was also being sent back to their home world, billions of miles away. This war will be your regret, President Bennett continued. Today, humanity does not just fight for survival. We fight to show the galaxy that freedom cannot be conquered. Kate worked quickly at the alien controls, making sure the message reached every corner of the Zarkalian Empire. She also sent the signal to activate the quantum disruptor. The device began to glow with blue light. Energy pulsed from it into the ship's systems. What have you done? Servac demanded as warning alarms began to sound throughout the flagship. The quantum disruptor is sending a pulse through your fleet's connected systems, Ben explained. Right now, every ship in your fleet is losing power to their engines and weapons. Outside, in the void of space, the massive Zarkalian warships suddenly went dark. Their weapons powered down. Their engines stopped. They drifted helplessly in Earth's orbit. Back on the flagship, Servac looked at the humans with new eyes. There was fear there now, and something else, respect. How? He asked. How did primitives like you defeat the greatest empire in the galaxy? You made one crucial mistake, Ben said. You judged us by our technology, not by our spirit. Humans don't give up. When backed into a corner, we fight harder. We adapt. We overcome. President Bennett's voice continued to broadcast across the stars. To the Zarkalian Empire and any other civilization watching, know this. Earth is not alone and unprotected. We are not easy prey. We will defend our home, our freedom, and our right to exist among the stars. She paused, her eyes seeming to look directly at Servac. Your ships are disabled. Your troops on Earth are surrounded. This war is over. The message echoed through space, reaching planets that had lived under Zarkalian rule for centuries. On those worlds, oppressed species listened with growing hope. If humans could defeat the mighty empire, perhaps they could too. 3 months after Earth's victory, the world looked very different. Cities were being rebuilt. The skies were clear of alien ships, and humanity had changed forever. High Admiral Servac stood before the United Nations in New York, no longer as a conqueror but as a prisoner of war. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered to hear the peace terms. The Zarkalian Empire accepts defeat, Servac said, his voice echoing through the rebuilt hall. For the first time in our 1,000-year history, we have failed to conquer a world. President Bennett nodded. The terms are simple. All your forces will leave Earth immediately. You will never return with hostile intent, and you will release all other worlds you have conquered. The Admiral's black eyes widened. Release our entire empire. Impossible. Those are our terms, President Bennett said firmly. We have disabled your fleet. We have your technology. And now we have your attention. In the audience, Captain Peter Rodriguez sat next to Dr. Laura Simmons. Both wore medals for their role in Earth's victory. Peter's ship, the Defiance, had become a symbol of human resistance. I never thought we'd win, Peter whispered. Laura smiled. I knew we would. Humans are stubborn that way. After the meeting, Colonel Ben Harrison and Lieutenant Kate Miller walked through the streets of New York. Buildings damaged in the war were being repaired. People were returning to their homes. What now? Kate asked. We've won the war, but the galaxy is much bigger and more dangerous than we ever imagined. Ben looked up at the sky. Now we make sure we're never caught unprepared again. In the weeks that followed, Earth's governments formed a new United Space Force. Using the technology they had captured from the Zarkalians, they began building a fleet of ships to protect Earth. Dr. Simmons led a team of scientists studying alien technology. Their faster-than-light drives work by bending space, she explained during a briefing. We can build our own ships now, better than theirs. Engineer Ryan Daniels held up a small device, and this is just the beginning. Their medical technology can extend human life by decades. Their energy systems could end all resource shortages on Earth. Messages began arriving from other worlds. Species that had been conquered by the Zarkalians had rebelled after hearing Earth's message. Many wanted to form alliances with the humans who had done the impossible. President Bennett called a special meeting with her advisors. We need representatives to visit these worlds, she said. We need to build bridges, not just for Earth's protection, but to create a new kind of community among the stars. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. The Defiance is ready, Madam President. With Lieutenant Miller's language skills, we could make first contact with these potential allies. 2 weeks later, the Defiance prepared for its historic journey. It would be the first human ship to intentionally leave the solar system. Its mission: diplomacy, not war. As Peter and Kate boarded the ship, they looked back at Earth one last time. We went from nearly being extinct to exploring the stars in less than a year, Kate said in wonder. Peter nodded. Because we refused to give up. At the launch ceremony, President Bennett addressed the gathered crowd and the billions watching around the world. The stars were meant to unite us, not divide us, she said. We extend our hand in peace to all who would join us as equals. But let our victory be a reminder to any who would threaten Earth in the future. We will defend our home with everything we have. As the Defiance rose into the sky, people everywhere looked up with new hope. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, no longer helpless against advanced civilizations. In his cell, High Admiral Chervak watched the ship depart. He had underestimated these humans from the beginning. His empire had indeed come to regret this war, just as Earth had promised. And across the galaxy, on countless worlds, people looked toward a distant star called Sol, where a small blue planet had done the impossible and changed the course of galactic history forever.